welcome back to Four Times in a Podcast. You join us on Sunday, the 27th of April. It's about 9 o'clock at night, and it is the day after Celtic were crowned 4-in-a-row champions up at Tannadice with a fantastic 5-0 win. Double for Nicholas Kühn, a double for Idah, and an own goal sealed 4-in-a-row for the Celts in their 55th league title overall. So it was a great day at Tannadice, and then celebrations followed back to Celtic Park as well. So we'll just touch on the game and we'll do a full season review at the end, but we'll just talk about what this league title means to us as well. So full complement, as you would expect, as the champions have been crowned. It's myself, Darren. I'm joined by Tony, Danny and Andy. So Tony, I'll come at you. You can take the floor first, given that you were the one that says on here about how Brendan's trademark sealing a title was a 5-0 win, and I know a few listeners backed it as well. You backed it. I hate money, so I obviously didn't back it, but another 5-0 victory to seal 4 in a row.
It was quite incredible that he managed to do it again, and I was shite myself because I think we were 5-0 up with quite a fair kind of amount of time to go, and I seen when we posted it on Twitter that somebody had, I think, a fiver on it, 28-1, so whoever that was, well done. I had £3 on it, 22-1, get 69 quid back, so it was really good. I just think when it gets to that stage, I mean, we done it against Hearts, we totally blitzed them in 2017, then the Huns in 2018, we blew them apart, then last year v Kelly. I'd actually be interested to know how many goals we've scored in the first half of the 4 games. Part of me thinks it might be at least 3. I know the Huns was 3, I know Kelly last year was 3 and this year was 3. I wonder if Hearts we scored 3 goals in the first half as well, because that was another bet I had, is to be winning by a couple of goals for half time. But no, you just wanted to get it won. Anyway, we'll do. And it was actually quite a difficult kind of first 10 minutes. I think the tangerine protest kind of helped us because it broke the game up a bit. I don't know if we're going to talk much about that. Obviously, we would, as a podcast, we would firmly agree with the fans, and I don't think anybody should be getting charged fucking, what is it, a 25% hike since the December game at Tannadice just because we can win the league while they're selling cheaper tickets to home fans. And I've seen a lot of kind of discourse about it on social media, and people going, oh, Celtic fans and the price Celtic charge fans that come to Parkhead. That's not decided by the Green Brigade or the Bhoys or us. We think Celtic charged too much as well. I don't think they should have raised the season ticket price as much as they did. I think people are still going through a cost of living crisis, still a lot of uncertainty in the world, so prices are still very high for a lot of different things, and people don't want to ever have to give up their season tickets. So I just, with the fact we brag about money in the bank every chance we get, I just don't think there was any real need to bump up the tickets. For a business point of view, obviously I can get it, but for a club ethos point of view and the kind of reason we were created in the first place, I just don't think there was any need for it. Especially now they don't give you any sort of benefit. There's no incentive to be a season ticket holder. Obviously it's great, we get to go to all the games and whatever, but it used to get a couple of free games, a free friendly or a free qualifier, and now you're getting less. So I think that was a mistake. I know, look, I'm going to renew, everybody I know will renew and things like that, but that's not really the point. I think the club could have made a nice statement and says we've got a season ticket freeze, thanks for all the support, something like that, because I think the fans have been brilliant this year. But sorry, totally away on a tangent. Back to 55. Once we get the first goal, we were in total control. Ian Crocker, I mean, my ears are still ringing for him screaming when we scored with excitement. I don't know what's going on with him. I used to think he was a decent commentator, but we scored and you would never have thought it if you weren't looking at the screen. He sounded absolutely deflated usually. He even gets excited for dead rubber games and his voice is breaking when other teams score, but he sounded deflated when we went 1-0 up. I was happy for Nicholas Kühn. I think he's obviously been well off it for a while, and he obviously had a bit of a celebration, whether it's aimed at fans or pundits or everybody. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. If he wants to give a bit back, then fine, good. Just keep scoring. I've got no problem with it. And obviously the third goal's really good play. It's a great pass for Engels. And then Maida gets the cross in and Kühn sticks it away again. And then by that time, it's just a full-scale party, and that's what you want. You want it to be wrapped up sharp and the fans can enjoy themselves. And then Idah scored right after half-time with a header. Glad for him as well. He seems to be such a divisive figure online. It's either he's brilliant or he's shite. There doesn't seem to be any in-between. I think he can be useful. I think he could be better. But he's scoring goals, I think, and he done well last season. I'm not going to write him off and just say let's just sell him. I don't really buy into that, and I think he'll be useful at Ibrox next week. I think he'll need to play now that Jota looks as though he's definitely going to be out for that game. His season might be over, but we'll need to wait for kind of more confirmation in that. But I think he can maybe add something to us for next week. We'll soon see. And then he made it 5-0. I'm sure one of you will be able to tell me when that was. I think it couldn't have been past the 60th minute. And I thought actually, funnily enough, for people listening to the last episode, Danny had predicted 7-1, so I put a pound on that at 125 to 1. So I started to think Danny was going to be right with that, but after that the game just kind of seen itself out and we were very comfortable, and I think we're definitely on for a couple of goal scoring records. So a great way to wrap up the title. It was good to see Rodgers having a bit of fun with the fans at the end as well. Forrest obviously became the most decorated Celtic player ever, which is another obviously an incredible achievement for him. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he's going to have that accolade for a great period of time. I think Callum McGregor will be looking to take it right off him in the next 2-3 years. But no, great. It was brilliant to get back to the place we lost 10 in a row, to go up there and seal 55. I thought it was great. I love how the club haven't really paid attention to the 55 thing, because that was never a thing. When you won the league, it was all about how many in a row you have. So they've obviously hammered on 4 in a row. And to think in January 2022, 6 months into Angie's first season, Rangers fans were all up at Ross County singing "Fuck you Celtic, we're going to win the league." Since then they've won no leagues and we've won 4, so life comes at you fast. But great, just brilliant. Let's kick on.
Aye, definitely, and then just on your 2 points, unfortunately that Tynecastle 5-0, we were only 2-0 up at half time that day through a double from Scott Sinclair. The other 3 goals came in the second half that day, and you're right, Adam Idah got the 5th goal yesterday in the 58th minute, so it was well over half an hour that we had to extend the lead, but it wasn't to be. Danny, I don't think any of us were complaining. I know some people would have wanted us to go for broke, especially like Satoni and others, and maybe back higher score lines, but a fantastic performance from Celtic, and I think it's good that we've kept it going. Like, I know after the Rangers game we looked for a response. We got it against Hearts at home, but then followed it up with a disappointing defeat to St Johnstone. But since that defeat, there really does seem to have been a change in attitude from the team, and that's now 15 goals in 3 games. So what's your thoughts on the title clinching yesterday and just the team in general now?
Last 3 games I think we've been really good. The Kilmarnock result was great. They were great in the Cup, and Saturday, this 5-0 thing to win the league is just bizarre. But they get the goals, and it's almost as if they just take Phil. It's like it's the mentality of the team. Whenever there's something to be won, they just go right after it. And kind of like with the Kilmarnock game last year, where I know I think we were about 6 points clear, like 6 points clear at the time with 2 games to go, but you're as good as one anyway. But they came out and they're like 3-0 up at half time, and then like this year, whenever they've kind of needed to win, they've just went out and blew the other team away, really, apart from the League Cup final where we ended up having to go to penalties. But for yesterday, they were really good. The kind of tangerine protest, a lot of people are saying it changed the game in our favour. I thought it was a fairly even game up to that point. Dundee United were up for it because, why know they're at home, they've got nothing to lose, but we looked good. I thought in the first half, particularly Engels and Alistair Johnson played really well, but Engels, I just thought he was kind of dominating. I thought he was everywhere in that first half. And as Tony said with Ian Crocker, he didn't quite know if it was a goal or a body out for a throw-in. He sounded absolutely devastated. I thought it was Jota that had scored it, and turned out it was obviously an own goal, but I just thought the way that for that moment onwards, they just seemed to knock the ball about with a lot of confidence. And the second goal came, Kühn, the second goal was a great goal. I was delighted for Kühn, great goal. Because Kühn's been kind of made an example of recently, you know what I mean? He got dropped in the cup semi-final, he got dropped, well, he was out the team, and he got took half at half time in a few games. When he definitely wasn't playing well in them, but he wasn't exactly the worst offender in some of the games. I know the St Johnstone game away, he was particularly poor in the first half, but I did think he was the only player in the team that was actually trying to take the game to them. So I was delighted for him to score and to get 2 and just look a wee bit more like himself. He looked quite sharp again yesterday. He had a few chances to get his hat-trick, which the ball just never fell through. But no, what can you say about the team? I mean, whenever there's something to be won, they just go straight for it, as I said. Like the second half, they came out and scored twice as quickly as they did, and delighted for Idah again. I thought Idah was really good. He said in his interview after the game it took him kind of 10 minutes to get going, and that that was true. But just the way he brings everybody into the game, it's like it's so evident when you see it, like what he brings to the team. And I know he's not everybody's cup of tea. I really like Idah. I know I said I said it in the group chat a couple of weeks ago that if Celtic were to get like 5 million for him this summer, they'll probably take it. And while I still think there might be a bit of truth in that, like the last few weeks with Idah, when he gets the ball and he's in the mood, you've seen him with the wee flicks and bringing players in. And he done that. It reminded me of his performance against Atalanta away from home, where he was the only boy up there his cell, and he did the damage for us. And you want to see him like that. And, you know, he brings not just the 2 wingers that play up with him, but he brings the 3 midfielders behind him as well into the game, and the fullbacks when they get forward. So to have a player like that, we really need a player like that. Obviously, he does say to sell us to score more goals, but that's 2 in his last 2 games. Hopefully he keeps it up heading into this weekend. But no, just brilliant yesterday. And the only bad thing was Jota going off injured and then appearing in a brace. That looked a bad one. It looked like his foot just get caught and maybe his knee jarred or something in the tough. But that was pretty shite to see, because you want to win the league in a bit of style, and when you do that and win 5-0, when somebody like Jota gets injured, it does temper it a wee bit. But no, I just when I finish up here, Dan, I just want to echo what Tony said about the fans and that, the protesting was, you know, the other fans, the other clubs moaning about Celtic fans. It's like, the Celtic fans need to protest for everybody. Like, do we need to hold a protest for every club that complains about something? It's pathetic, you know. Celtic fans are well within their right. I thought it was very smart. And, you know, other fans are greeting about their experience at Celtic Park. Well, why don't they protest about that? Why don't they do something about that? They need to wait for Celtic to do everything. It's just, Scottish football just eats itself, because even though there's something that everybody agrees on, it's because Celtic fans are saying, or, you know, because it's us, the voice of the message, people are just ignorantly going against it because it's Celtic. Is so pathetic, and these clubs deserve what they get, but Celtic 55 and whatever, it's the second time in 4 years 55's been secured at Tannadice, so whatever that means. But aye, just great. And, you know, I think I said it on Friday, but that's the 20th league title I can remember, and I'm only 32, so that's, and considering I didn't win one until I was 5, it's some going. And long may it continue.
Absolutely, and Andy will bring you in. It was, as I said, we sort of discussed would there be changes, and there was obviously with Nicholas Kühn and Jota coming in, sort of contrasting fortunes. Obviously, Kühn does silence a few critics with a double. I'd said on here last week that I was desperate for him to get on the score sheet, and was delighted for him, because I think a lot of people spoke a lot of shite about him, to be honest. I think it's been well over the top, but I was delighted that he was the sort of star of the show. And as Danny mentioned, unfortunate that Jota potentially could be out for the season. It might, well, we all hope it was just a precaution with getting it in a brace and putting him on crutches, but I'm sure we'll find out later in the week how serious that is. But what was your thoughts on the performance and sealing 4 in a row?
Aye, hopefully when we get the news about Jota, it won't be as bad as it looks. Like you say, when the brace and the crutches and things come out, you always fear the worst. But hopefully it's just precautionary. And I would agree about Kühn. Like, you know the quality he's got. We've seen it. And we've seen it for a sustained period of time, and we've seen it at a good level. So you know it was there, and he was just going through a lull, and especially with wingers, so they're probably the most notorious for it, but that happens. So I was absolutely delighted for him to get himself back in the score sheet and back amongst the goals. Even to get back to the sort of the changes in the performance itself. I mean, that's the 3rd game in a row we've scored 5 goals, and it's way changes to the lineup. Do you know what I mean? And I think that says a lot about the team and the squad that we've got there, and the ability, especially when they sort of click into gear and they get going. Like, they are really, really dangerous, and they can hurt anybody at any time. And we are sort of tending to score the goals in bunches. Like, say the start of the game, it was tough. We weren't great. It was a fairly even game. Nothing too much a note to harm. Obviously, then breaking play comes, and we slowly but surely sort of start to click through the gears. And by the 15-minute period for the first goal to half time, we're 3-0 up, and the game's pretty much done at that stage. And again, a lot of it comes for good phases of play. And I just think especially when we get going, when we use the pace that we've got, we're just so dangerous, and we are a joy to watch. I mean, as I say, the fact that we're scoring so many goals is just incredible. I mean, it's ultimately we're all at football to be entertained and everything else, and that's exactly what you're getting. We're a Celtic team, and I think it was Danny that said it earlier on. It's always when it matters with this team. We'll go through the season and we'll play better than others at times, and there is sort of the games where you're maybe questioning the performance at other levels, but when the chips are down and when it comes to sort of crunch time, when there's something there to be won and something to be gained for winning a game, we go out and do it, and we're doing it consistently. It's a joy. It really is, and obviously the fans deserve it. The fans are brilliant, and I'll not touch too much on the sort of protests and things like that. But the performance itself was brilliant. Again, Idah, similar to what you said there, Dan. Like, I'm happy for him. Like, I've been critical of him at times as well, and like he's another one that's been streaky. He's sort of hit peaks and troughs. So sometimes you think brilliant, right? Maybe that's him now. Maybe he's got a couple of goals and he'll kick on and he'll sort of sustain that level of performance, and it drops off. I think the thing, especially with guys like that, is it can just be frustrating because you know that he's got it in the locker to perform like that, and especially when you're really the sort of main striker at Celtic. Obviously, Maida's been playing there, but you know if Idah was sort of firing all cylinders and scoring 1 and 2 goals every week, Maida probably would be out on the left where he sort of was when Kyogo was the main man, but. That's probably why the sort of spotlight's on him and the money that was spent and everything else. But delighted for it, and again, I hope that he keeps that going. Like, you know, he's got that, and he can be frustrating. And I'll never hide away from the fact that I have been critical of him at times. But like, it's just about finding that consistency and doing it more often. And hopefully, performances like that will bring that out of him, especially as he sort of grows and matures in the game. But brilliant, Dan. And the fans are right to protest. Everything Danny says is spot on. Like, it's just because it was us that done it. Teams spit the fans spit the dummy. They're their aim worst enemy, particularly in Scottish football, but that's probably maybe a culture thing in Scotland than anything else as well. But got exactly what we deserved. We'll obviously touch on a sort of season review at a later stage, but performance was brilliant. Fans were entertained. There's nothing that you can ask of this team, and we just consistently keep performing at that sort of level when the chips are down.
Aye, as you say, and as a few have said, it is the team turning up again when it matters, and it's a really incredible quality to have, and I think the manager possesses it in abundance as well. On the game, I agree, I thought the first sort of 10-15 minutes was sort of sticky, and Dundee United were sort of just launching balls at us, but I didn't feel in danger at any point, and then I think the breaking play did help us. And just to quickly touch on it, I know it's not a time, this is an episode for celebrating, but they're completely right they're just trying to raise awareness of supporters being fleeced, and you're right, because it's Celtic fans, everybody else turns around and say, this is what you do, you have got a big pillar here, this is what you charge us, and then you think, well, fucking combine, like one of you says it. It's no the Celtic supporters that are holding that protest that are setting the prices at Celtic Park, and if any of the idiots that were criticising them had done any sort of research, they would see that the ultras groups and other Celtic supporters have come out and criticised the club for how much we charge other fans. And then this week as well, there's been plenty of people discussing Celtic announcing an above inflation rise in season tickets when they came out this week as well. So I think if people educated themselves, but Scottish football is determined to have a race to the bottom, and that's why like you'll never get like a united front with supporters sort of going for the one goal, because it was the same a few weeks ago when Celtic supporters were harassed by police as well, and there's a sort of, you could see other ultras groups from across the city were sort of talking about similar, but because of who it is and who it happens to, people just don't, they just can't come to a consensus and, as I say, hold a united front. But no, I did think we improved after that, and I think, as you say, the last few weeks, as soon as we score, the next few seem to follow, and we get a bit of fortune with the first goal. Obviously Scales heads it on, and Dundee United boy has to try and put it somewhere because Jota's just behind him, and unfortunately for him puts it in his net. And then Nicholas Kühn, as I say, I'm delighted for him. I'm a really big supporter of him this season. I think he's been at the heart of so much that's been good, and I think when you're watching season reviews and listening to podcasts and YouTubers do their season reviews, you're gonna really look back and see how many big moments he did have across the course of the season. So delighted for him. I think he's, as one of you says again, his celebration sort of, I think, maybe lets you know that he's aware of what's been said about him the last few months. And Tony's right, the best way to answer it is just to keep scoring goals, and hopefully keeps it going to the end of the season. Could have probably had a hat-trick before half-time. I think Idah had one just after we went 3-0 up, and he should have done better. He sort of made a mess of that, but if there's anybody you got to let away with making a mess of something recently, it's Dyson Maeda, because he's just been so good. I know he didn't get on the score sheet yesterday, but just so positive for us wherever he plays. And Adam Idah, I'm a massive advocate of him as well. I think next season could be an even bigger season for him, because I think there's more to come, and I know he's been there a good while now, but I think just being able to enjoy the summer without any speculation and come back, have a full pre-season, like I think you can't really underestimate how much that helped. Like Nicholas Kühn, who joined halfway through a season last season, so hopefully it works for Idah even better this summer as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we got the 2 goals before the 60-minute mark to make it 5, and I think then it just became a game of try and get James Forrest a goal, which would be great to see. I know Tony's pretty convinced that next penalty we get, it's going to get past the Forrest. I think even if he's on the bench, they might bring him on so he can keep that record going. I think he's looking for his 16th consecutive season scoring. I think he'll be the first player to do that since Paul McStay heard him saying commentary yesterday. So it'll be a fantastic achievement, but I don't think he can have a bigger achievement than being the most decorated Celtic all time. And the 6 years or whatever we've been doing this show, I've probably criticised Forrest more than any Celtic player. I think he's had his ups and downs, but it deserves the longevity. To have that longevity at a club like Celtic, you've got to have something about you, and not just have possessing ability, but having that sort of mental toughness as well, that he survived 4 or 5 managers, and when times have been tough he's came back, and the last 18 months has probably been right up there with his highlights his Celtic career. So delighted for him, and I think he's another one that when the time does come for him to leave Celtic, then you'll look back and see what he achieved as well. But no, delighted with the way we wrapped it up yesterday, and I think it would have been like any title you're going to be delighted to celebrate. As Danny said, we're all roughly the same age. I'm by far the oldest, but we've all seen Celtic win 20 league titles now, and you never take it for granted. I went up to Celtic Park after it yesterday with my daughter, who's barely just over a year, and she's seen us win 2 out of 2, so I had to wait a long time before I saw 2 titles, never mind 4 in a row. So but I enjoyed the scenes at Celtic Park. I met our good pals from Gig Pod, Stevie and Reid, so it was great to see them. Don't you worry about that. But it's just, you never know when times might get bad again, and I know the Sharks were out again at Celtic Park. They were enjoying celebrations yesterday as well. But no, delighted with how the weekend went, and hopefully it's not the end of the celebrations. We'll still get a few league games to try and keep scoring goals. I think we're averaging 3 goals a game. Hopefully we can keep that up, and then obviously the Scottish Cup final against Aberdeen the end of May. But quickly, we'll come back later in the week for a derby preview, but I'll come at you, Tony, if you could sort of sum up what this title means to you in like a few words. And I know it's done for a while, but just what does it mean now that it is in the bag and we can celebrate 4 in a row again?
Everything. Every title is so important, and you always cherish them. I mean, obviously, we didn't experience the awful times of the 90s or anything like that, but I still remember some really shitty last days that didn't go our way, and it's disappointing, and you never want to lose a title. And I love everything that goes with winning a title. I love the day when we won it, which was yesterday, where we can really enjoy it, and the final whistle goes, and all the effort the players and the management and everybody at the club's put in, they can relax a bit. I love when we lift the title. I think that's such a great day out as well. It's always a nice day in May where it's a kind of party atmosphere. I love when we fly the flag at the start of the next season, and it's very special. I mean, I think fans of other clubs are desperate to say, "Oh, you must be bored," and it doesn't mean as much to you. And it's just nonsense. I mean, they can say it a million times over. See if we win the league for now until the next 50 years. If I'm here to see them all, I'll celebrate them all and I'll enjoy them all, because the alternative to no winning the league is not very good. So no, for me, very special. And we know that this one definitely really annoys a certain fan base who had big banners years ago about compare the titles and all this shite. So, it's good. It's good to get our 120th honour, and here's to many more. And I guess and I know again somebody that kind of, would you call it, still gets a wee bit of flack is Brendan Rodgers. But I think if you look at the last kind of 10 years nearly, and the domestic dominance we have. See with Brendan Rodgers, it doesn't happen. You don't have your quadruple treble, you don't have an invincible treble, you don't have 8 trebles, you don't have as many titles. You just don't with Brendan Rodgers. So for me, he's been such an important figure in the club's history. I'm delighted he says he's going to be here for next year. I hope he stays for longer. I think the fact we've managed to put in a shift in Europe this year as well has really added to the season. I think he probably needs a result at Ibrox next week and a performance, just because some people have not been happy with the last 3 performances against them, which I agree with, that they've not been good enough. But for me, I think he's been really crucial in such an amazing time in their life. So I think really special title, and I guess thanks, Brendan.
Aye, definitely. And Danny, what's your quick thoughts on sealing in our title? Is it another tedious title, or are you savouring this one just as much as your first?
The first was stop Rangers doing 10 in a row, which I was only 5, but you didn't. I just remember for the first time in my life that all my family were happy about Celtic, so that was special. I didn't quite know the significance of that until years later, but having lived through it on the other side, 20 odd years later, it was no winning, man, still hurts. Do you know what I mean? And what Tony said was right. I mean, for all the dominance that we've enjoyed, it's really, I could be wrong here, but at the top of my head, I can only really remember since Martin O'Neill came in. Anyway, in that first season under Martin O'Neill, I can only ever remember 2 league titles, but they won pretty much out the park, and that was the COVID season and the Tony Mowbray season, where I think they ended up I think they were only 6 points in it by the end, but I think they won it with about maybe 4 or 5 games to go. So that's the only 2 seasons I can actually remember us not taking it to the last day for them. So aye, Tony's right, there's been a lot of shite, there's been a lot of bad last days. I mean, Helicopter Sunday and all that nonsense, still know all that. So when you win one, you need to enjoy it. And this season, I think it's been a great season. I know some people have been, Ian Crocker, every opportunity he got yesterday, kept talking about staggering towards the title. And when you look at it, you think, fuck's sake, they've lost 4 times all season in the league right now. We don't tend to lose 4 times in a season, but I know, and it was after the St Johnstone game when, everybody was getting ready to pile in, and I took a step back and looked at the season, and you think, and Andy was talking, it was you, or I think maybe you or Andy was talking about Idah and that getting a pre-season, but I'm thinking about players like Engels. Now, Engels will need a pre-season next season. I mean, he came in on deadline day. There's been no winter break this year either, and the players have played all the way through, and I've just, honestly, for August to the Bayern Munich game, when that, when Alphonso Davies put us out, for the start of the season to that moment, the team were fucking outstanding. They were exceptional. They had a wobbler at Ibrox, but apart from that, they'd been near perfect. And, look, the fruit of to borrow the Green Brigade's phrase, but the fruit of the labour was, and didn't matter how many times we dropped points, we kept extending our lead in the league. We'd, obviously, an unassailable lead in the league. We'd wrapped up the League Cup. We'd taken, really should have put Bayern Munich out the Champions League, but we enjoyed some really good performances in the Champions League against good teams, mature performances, which we've been crying out for years under Celtic. So the effort to there was incredible, and there was a wee bit of a drop off, but it's like when they kicked in and won the league when it mattered in the cup. You seem they took care of the semi final pretty easily, and hopefully the final will be much of the same. Although I'm expecting a tough game against Aberdeen, but. This league's number 20, but I enjoyed it just like it was number 1 again. I know, as you say, it's pretty special. They mean the same. You still enjoy them the same, but they do mean differently in terms, now, I've been lucky enough to enjoy the last however many we use, and, obviously all the wins in that as well, and it's like you're passing that on. It's like I was talking about my godson the other day, so your daughter's my goddaughter, Darren, and for her to win 2 out of 2, there's going to be a time where, hopefully no too soon, but there's going to be a time where we maybe need to speak to her and say, look, this doesn't happen all the time. Hopefully it's years away yet, but no, the first one is, the latest one's just like the first one. It's great, and but it just, it tees up next year rather nicely, because as Tony says, the Compare the Titles division have been very quiet in the last couple of days. Imagine how quiet they'll be next year when we go for 56.
Definitely, it'll be something going for 56 next year. We'll see how we go then. Andy, just to wrap up, as the same as us, it's the second time we've seen Celtic win 4 titles in a row. What does this one mean, and just let know we'll do a full season review, but just your quick thoughts on another league title for Celtic.
I don't want to cover all ground. I think the boys are spot on in what they've said, and I agree with every word. Like, it's the same shite you get for the same people with stuff like that, and it's not even worth listening to. We know what it means to us to see Celtic winning titles. We know what it's always meant, and that's never changed. And Danny, I think he's pretty spot on in what he says. Like, they're all special, but a lot of them are special in different ways, and they're special by things that are going on elsewhere away from football, and you can always relate back to them and think about what was going on at that time. And as I say, like, we all know it means everything. That will never change. This one's just important as the last one. Is just as important to the one before that, and all the rest of it. So it's not worth listening to. It's not worth entertaining. It's the same shite for the same fucking losers. But it's magic. There's just I can't really sum it up anyway. That's not already been said. To be honest with you, Dan, it's special times in a special team, and again, they're right. Like, you've got to enjoy these moments because they might not last forever. There will be, like, the balance. It's the way football works. There's going to be more difficult times, and that's probably what makes us appreciate these even more, because we know that, and that there we give you the appreciation for these. So, long live the glory days.
Yep, can't say it much better than what Yusuf says. I agree, and we'll do a full round-up at the end of the season and discuss it in more detail. But we're well over the half-hour mark, so we'll wrap it up there. We will be back later in the week with a wee Derby preview, and maybe a wee update on Jota as well, if there's anything comes out about that. But we hope you have enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed your weekend, seeing Celtic winning our title and our trophy. It's, as we say, we should never take it for granted, and I don't think many of us do. So we'll speak to you later in the week. Thanks for taking the time to listen to our episode, and hail hail.